Well, hi everyone. I'm Lulu, and I'm here today with my friend Jamie Scott, who is an all-round amazing human. But apart from that, he's also a nutritionist and specialist in training, all things strength and conditioning. And I'm just so glad to have him on with me today. Jamie, do you want to just take a few moments to introduce yourself?
I'm a nutritionist slash strength and conditioning coach, like in a very generalist sense. Like I work with a lot of different people in a kind of very athletic-y type way. Some proper athletes, most not. They're just kind of looking to improve their health and well-being and do some stuff. But so like I don't work with a specialist type sport. Just kind of uh, unapologetic generalist is how I would describe myself on both the nutrition and the training front. To be fair, because I think one of the things that I've kind of learned and found and my own kind of practice has evolved in this direction is a lot of the people don't have the kind of those key kind of foundation stones in place, either physical or psychological, which we'll kind of get into with some of the chat. So I don't tend to focus too much at the fancy top of the pyramid. What supplements and cool things can we do? It's just like basics across the bottom for both nutrition and the training side of things, and then support people from there. Uh, I've worked with many women who've gone off and got some sort of cosmetic surgery, like breast enlargement being kind of the most common one, I guess. And there'll be some sort of underlying reason, like and again, I feel like I'm on dangerous ground here, but like as an older male talking about these sorts of things, but there's some sort of deficiency that they're trying to make up for. There's something about their appearance that they don't like, or whatever it happens to be, and they go in going, this will fix it.
Yeah.
And then when like you sit down with them afterwards, like they feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like nothing has changed.
Yeah.
And I remember one I worked with when I was a trainer at the YMCA in Christchurch for a few years, and she was a gorgeous young girl. Didn't feel particularly good about her breast size. She
Mm.
spoke to me prior to the surgery, and she was like, "Oh, what do you think of me getting this?" I'm like, "Oh, hey, look, if it's going to make you feel better, you do you. Like, I'm not going to pass
Yeah.
judgment there." The only thing I did say was like, "Don't go too big. Just don't go ridiculously big." Of course, she went ridiculously big. And then afterwards, like speaking to her, she was just saying, I feel just exactly the same. Now I have these two enormous breasts that don't feel a part of me. Like, and I've heard that as a common refrain of like
Wow.
the implant itself feels like an implant. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel part of them.
Mhm.
And then she was saying, and now all I have is guys staring at my chest endlessly. And I'm just like, what did you think was going to happen? So like it kind of underscores the point that, whether it's breasts, nose, hair transplants for
Mhm.
men, the whole lot, like there's so many pathways where you can relatively instantaneously change your appearance
Yeah.
relative to training for years and years,
Mm.
but do that and then you go, I still don't feel any happier. Like
Yeah.
there's still that deficiency. So like, I mean, you're right. It doesn't the the physical appearance, the physical exterior of ourselves can't make up for whatever's kind of deep and internal and is disturbing us.
Exactly. That's it. That's everything. That's what I'm here for, really. It's just to, not to discount the importance of nutrition and the importance of taking care of yourself, but nothing's going to change unless you actually change, right? Like
Mm,
the woman that you worked with, it's like she said she felt exactly the same afterwards, whereas, it's like could have told you that before, like if there's no
yeah.
internal shift, if there's no like frequency shift, if there's no identity shift, like why would you be any different? Like it
Mm,
just, whereas if you actually change on the inside, you notice everything is different around you, right? Like I always think
mm,
about the example of like falling in love, right? It's like when you fall in love, like suddenly you literally have like just gold, rose tinted, whatever beautiful color glasses on, right? And just the world is like benevolent, right? And that's
mm,
because you on the inside are different. And so the outside mirrors your inner state. Whereas
mm.
like I was saying before, if you chase a certain thing, and this is the other thing, speed. So isn't it ironic how the fact that we want to do things quickly make things take way longer because we haven't actually looked at the thing that needs looking at, right? It's like in the past, I've done paleo diets, such things for like extended periods of time. And then during it, I'd feel really deprived, but I was very righteous. I was like, yeah, but I'm eating what my ancestors are supposed to eat, and like there's that fanatic streak I had. Um, and the other thing is like during that time, I still would be like wanting to eat the cakes and wanting to eat the thing. Like that underlying thing that drove the need for those foods didn't go anywhere. So like I was just making almond flour substitute everything, and instead of using sugar, I was just using a lot of honey or whatever other like sugar substitutes are
But
around.
like, well, but there's the interesting pattern, and I saw this a lot, being involved in that scene as well. And I remember like back in the days when I was on, dare I say, on Twitter, I remember this post, and it's like it was one of kind of a few posts that got a lot of traction because the pattern that I had seen was no matter what the kind of fad dietary framework of the time was, you could illustrate it such that if it was the 1980s and we were obsessed with low fat, you could go and get low fat cupcakes. And then when we became obsessed with carbohydrates, you could get low carb or sugar free cupcakes. and then you could get paleo cupcakes, and you could get keto cupcakes, and you could get vegan cupcakes. Like, and you could stick whatever dietary prefix that you wanted onto cupcake, because no matter how well intentioned any sort of dietary framework, dietary fad started out, it would always get pushed towards recreating the exact same comfort foods that we keep coming back to.
Yeah.
There was when I was involved with a American-based company called Whole Nine, Dallas and Melissa Hartwig, when they were still together. They had they put up a post, or like they had a framework, and their framework was called SWIPO. So it was SWYPO, and that stood for sex with your pants on. And the idea, run with me on this one.
Uh-huh.
So the idea being that if you're with someone and you decided, okay, well, like we're going to do everything other than kind of have full on sex, we'll keep our pants on. Like there's a point where you're just going to want to rip your pants off. And they were using that loosely as a dietary framework, as like a framework around diets, to say that if you're trying to recreate all of the old foods, that all of your old comfort foods that made you feel emotionally good, your pizzas and your cupcakes and whatever it was, if you decided that you were going to recreate those, but rationalize that recreation because, but it's vegan and it's healthy, or it's sugar free and it's healthy, or it's paleo and it's healthy.
Yeah.
Like at some point, you're going to come to the realization it's like, this just tastes like shit. Give me the real thing. So,
Yeah.
kind of metaphorically ripping your pants off and having the food that made you feel good, which was what you wanted in the first place.
Yeah.
And so it kind of underscores that the reason we keep coming back and recreating those foods, no matter how we kind of dress it up and rationalize it and apply and project and so on, like it's because there was something about those foods that met an emotional need.
Oh my
and then,
goodness.
but when you have to understand what that emotional need is that you're trying to meet.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you mentioned this, because this is what I try and educate people on. It's this idea of substitutes, and they replace your actual desires, right? Like people don't trust their desires anymore. They think that because we don't really, again, I think one of the deepest and most profound things you could ever do in your life is to actually just not listen to everything your mind says, right? Like, because we've just been brainwashed, conditioned to believe so many things that aren't true. Right? And they're beliefs, right? Beliefs in their own is like a substitute for something right? So all these things, theories that people get like bombarded with, and they think, oh, I can't eat past 7. I can't do this, I can't eat, only eat fruit in the morning, but you can't eat fruit any other time in the life, whatever rules, right? There's so many, and many are conflicting as well. But the truth is, like, you just need to drop into your body and actually begin to trust the guidance system that we're inherently born with. Like we're all born to seek pleasure and avoid pain, right? Like no one is like, there are no exceptions. Everyone is born to seek pleasure, avoid pain, right? And if only we could actually trust that, it would actually lead us to a pretty balanced place. It's just that we're kind of bombarded with conditioning that says, no, you can't trust your desires, because if you if you just let yourself eat whatever you eat, then you'll just eat anything. But I challenge you, honestly, like if you actually allow yourself and be very present in your body to eat the thing you say you want to eat it and see if you actually enjoy that. I promise you, when you actually have a different experience in your body, you won't have that emotional attachment to the food like you did if you didn't fully eat it from your body. If you know what I mean? Because like a lot of times
like,
people, yeah.
So you've touched on something that is a very, very big problem in the nutrition landscape. Is that because we've lost touch with ourselves, we've lost touch with our own feelings and trust, and what's kind of driving some of those beliefs. We have kind of subjugated, subcontracted, whatever the word is, ourselves out to other people's beliefs.
Yes.
And so now you have this nutrition landscape, again, kind of using social media as an amplified platform, where you can have someone from the outside looking in, viewing their life through this screen on Instagram or whatever it happens to be, and you go, oh my God, their life is perfect. They've got the perfect body. They look absolutely gorgeous and they seem happy. And I want that life. And they're saying that I need to eat with, XYZ rules. But really what their rules are is actually that individual that you're admiring. It's their beliefs and rationalizations for the shit that they're dealing with. And you know as well as I do that the space is awash with people who, as part of kind of rationalizing, what they do, and this is very common in disordered eating disorder territory, is that they kind of go, I have to do this and other people have to do it with me. And if other people are doing the thing that I believe with me, it legitimizes it. And you see so much of this on Instagram, that so many of the influencers, sometimes qualified, more often than not, they aren't, projecting their thoughts and beliefs and their emotional struggles, but they're wrapped up in language in such a way, and a confidence reel or otherwise, that says, hey, this is what you need to do, so that the person on the receiving end of that information is like, oh yes, I need to do that too, because they don't trust what their own body's telling them, so they have to listen to someone else's body.
Yeah. And don't you think that ties back to what you were saying before about people chasing a look, right? I think they're chasing a look because they don't actually trust themselves. They don't actually like,
They're
yeah,
chasing someone else's look. Like
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
a look, or it's not a look for them. It's like, I want that person's look, and I want that person's life, and I want that person's clothes. This is why influencers can sell us clothes,
yeah,
because like everything's kind of wrapped up, and we want their thing.
yeah,
And rather than like go, well, what is the thing that I need? What is the thing
yeah,
that suits my life? The other side, and
yeah.
is kind of, I guess, kind of somewhat related to it, and it's something that I've struck a lot more here, in Austria, and just kind of the nature of the culture and the differences from home,
Mm.
is those who have to have data, they have to have numbers.
Oh,
And
yeah.
because they, like and again, this is one of those weird splits, is that if you listen to, in say, sports science, if you listen to some of the top coaches, professors, people have been around for years, and they'll say, what is the best way of controlling your intensity when you're out for a run or a bike ride? And they'll say a rating of perceived exertion, which is just a sciencey way of, how do you feel
Yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yep.
How do you feel?
Mhm.
And then there'll be another question. It's like, so what are the best metrics for monitoring your athletes, and seeing how they are, seeing how they're recovering? And the top coaches will go, you ask them how they are feeling today, and like people are like, boom, because in the kind of the more kind of democratized public life, we've been led to believe that we can reduce ourselves down to numbers. We have wearables that, HRV, resting heart rate, like how many hours did I sleep, how many watts am I putting out on my bike, like what's my running pace, numbers, numbers, numbers. I'm going to start a fitness routine. This is what happens here, and this was a recent post of mine.
Mhm.
Before I start a fitness routine, I need to go to a sports science lab and have my VO2 max tested, and find out what my respiratory quotient is for when I'm at my fat burning peak. And like, these are people who are just starting out, Lulu. Like, they've got some fundamental barriers to cross before they get into that. And so, and I have found with the Austrians and others in Europe who I've coached, is that I coach by feelings. I'll say, like, do it at an intensity that feels like this, or
Mhm.
tell me how you're feeling today. And they can't do it because they
Mhm.
need numbers, and
Wow.
it takes so much coaching to get to the point of like, can you, like, just tell me how you feel? Like, what is
Wow.
the emotion that you have in your body?
Uh-huh.
Get in touch with that. Like, does it feel hard? Does it
Yeah.
feel easy? Do you feel tired? Do you
Yeah.
feel sad? Are you happy? Are you like, what is the feeling
Wow.
that goes with how you feel? And they will, if you push them and go like, why is this such a difficult thing? They're like, I don't trust myself. I
Yeah.
don't I don't know whether it's real. And so they need numbers. They just kind of go like, if I have a number, then that's easier.
Well, that almost breaks my heart a little.
It does. Like,
Because,
it's very
right?
sad. Like, but when you can get someone out the
Yeah.
other side, and I've got a very recent example of this, of one of my clients, and she was like a robot. She just
Mm.
struggled with the idea of doing everything subjectively. It had to be objective. It had to be a number.
Mm.
But she's kind of gone through that and come out the other side. And very recently, she sent me a message of going like, I went for a run and I just did it by feel, and it felt amazing. And
Oh,
she's opened up. Like, this
yeah.
person who just couldn't share anything about how she feels
Yeah.
now sends me updates that are based around like, this is how I feel. This is what's stressing me this week. This is what's on my mind. This is what's causing me to be anxious. And when you're a coach, like, that is gold,
Yeah.
because then you can kind
Yes.
of go, hey, look, this person's under a lot of life stress right now.
Mhm.
Now's not the week to beat the snot out of them. So you can kind of shift things. But if they go, oh, like, life is amazing, I feel good, it's like, cool, we're going to dial her up. We can
Love
we can
it.
give you a little bit more training load. But when it's just based around kind of numbers, like,
Yeah.
there's no human in behind those
I
numbers.
know.
I went for a ride for 60 minutes at 200 watts. Great. How did it feel?
Yeah.
It was 200 watts. No, 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 no. How did it feel? And again, and it comes back to the fact that we've lost touch with ourselves. We kind of, like I
Yeah.
said, we contract out like feelings and thoughts and whatever else to numbers and metrics and so on and so forth. So
Mm.
yeah, thanks for coming to
Wow.
my TED talk on that.
Yeah. My gosh, I'm
I'm
really,
passionate
really
about it.
glad. Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that because, like, I think people need to hear that, like, from someone who's credentialed and, to just say that it really is just about how you feel, because I think we
Mm,
need that, like, because, building trust with yourself, and here's the other thing. I don't think it's ever that we've lost it, right? Because, you look at a newborn baby, you look at a young infant, like even children up to like 2, 3 years old, like they know what's up, they'll communicate that easily. Then, like numbers don't make sense to them, but
mm,
feelings do. They may not be able to articulate them, but they'll express it. And I think, we all have that, but it's kind of just been like over the years, through conditioning, through growing up, through the pressure to fit in, to grow up, in a way that is kind of ordained as okay in society and acceptable, that just drums all about innate knowing in our body out. And we kind of get replaced with this like robotic brain, and then we just like
mm.
cut ourselves off from the neck and just
Well,
don't
here's the
feel.
disconnect. So here's the disconnect, and here's where our worlds overlap.
Mm,
So if I'm just wearing a pure kind of sports sciencey coach's hat, I will see people who, by nature of the testing or something that they've done, they will be told that their low intensity zone 2 training needs to be done at, let's say, 125 beats per minute. So they go out and, running, riding, whatever it happens to be, and they're like desperately trying to stay at 125 beats per minute, but their heart rate wants to shoot off all over the place, and they can't hold it there. And so then I will, because I'm kind of sit more on the subjective rating of perceived exertion. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me you couldn't hold your heart rate at 125. It just wanted to sit at 140 the entire time. How did you feel? Like, was it a 3 or 4 out of 10? Oh yeah, yeah. Like, cool. Like, that's like by feeling, you were probably in the right zone.
Mm.
Oh, but my heart rate was wrong.
Mm.
And so this is where the psychology of it kicks in, is that because they don't trust their feeling and they've been conditioned through marketing and otherwise to trust the number, the objective number, they have a sense that they've done it wrong. And because they've done it wrong, there's a sense of failure, there's a sense of inadequacy. And so now they're like, all of these wounds this is where the wounds come in,
Yeah.
from whatever part of their life, because I'm doing this thing, but I'm doing it wrong because I can't get my body to match the number that I've been told that I have to be at to be in the correct zone. And it's like, no, 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 no. The numbers there is a guide.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
won't always match up. Like, how do you
Yeah.
trust your feelings, trust your instincts.
Yeah.
And this is the part of coaching that you don't get taught about when you do a sports science degree, because they don't tell you that when you're coaching individuals, you're going to come up against their childhood wounds, their relationship deficits, their this, their that in their world. But these things manifest as this issue that arises because their subjective rating doesn't match the objective data that they're supposed to go for, and the tension, the anxiety, the kind of like some of even the full-on arguments that you end up with your clients around. It's not about the heart rate. It's got nothing to do with the heart rate or the zone or whatever else. It's something else that has occurred in their life that is now like, well, this is just another example of me being a failure and not being able to do it.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I'm so glad you brought that to light, because I think more people
Mm.
need to hear this. They need to know that even when you're going on like athletic pursuits and going on something, you kind of training for a marathon, all of these things, it's like you will not escape the work that you need to actually work on, right?
You are going to
Like,
face some demons.
yeah.
They are like,
Hmm.
and depending on what you're doing,
Mm.
like if particularly I'm thinking some of these people who go really well down the rabbit hole of ultra distance type stuff, where you're out for hours, if not days and weeks, sometimes depending on the sport that they're doing, and these are very lonely endeavors. So you can imagine that someone is on day 5 out of, I don't know, 10 in the middle of a Spanish desert. They're hot, they're tired, they want to give up. There's no rescue coming for them, and they're just sitting there with themselves, and like all that their head is filled for is demons. Like every bit of angst and anxiety and self-hate and hate of others and it will all come to the surface during those times.
Mm.
And so like if you want to go down that pathway and that's the thing you want to do, I would strongly suggest that you concurrently get some sort of like therapeutic support to go with it, because you're going to face some demons.
Yeah. That's so beautiful and like heartbreaking at the same time because oftentimes people like want to do these things to take their mind off, right?
Mm.
Like often people like say, well, I'm going to train for this and I'm going to eat like this. I'm going to do these like regimens and stick to the structure as a way to like try and get back some control of whatever they felt out of control in, right? But then you're going to have to face those things anyway at some stage. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of poetic how it works, isn't it? Like you're always going to learn what you need to learn no matter what you choose. So. All right. Well, before we wrap up, could you share like how people can get in contact with you and just like the offerings that you have, if you have any at the moment? Just yeah, just so that people can find you because you're just a wealth of knowledge on fitness, training, and
Thanks.
nutrition. So,
Thanks for saying that, Lulu. I'm only on one platform, like in terms of the social. So uh, that's Instagram, and my easiest one would be on my athletica.coach account. You can also find me at the same web address, which is athletica.coach, and contact me through there. If people want to reach out and connect, I'm always happy to. I work, we talk about kind of athletes and athletic training, and obviously have Athletica as my brand name. People automatically assume that like I work with athletes, and yes, I do work with some athletes, but I work with anyone and everyone who has athletic intentions, and that's just like if you want to move your body and be physical. To me, that's athletic,
yeah.
and we can work with you. So like I'm very nutrition centric in
Mhm.
what I offer. So I was going to say that we work with the nutrition first as one of kind of the foundation layers, and then we're going to start to look
Yeah.
at what we want to do from there. So I do only work part time, so I do have limited ability to take people on. But yeah, if people want to reach out and say hi, do so.